Black Sabbath, who from the 1960s have been instrumental in turning countless of thousands of youth towards Satanism, did not leave any mystery as to whom they were serving when they titled one of their albums, "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll." Black Sabbath was named after a satanic being that appeared to bass player Geezer Butler after he had already painted his house black and adorned it with upside-down crosses and depictions of Satan. This satanic being that appeared at the foot of Butler's bed is considered the fifth mystical member of Black Sabbath, who gave them the material for their first 3 albums.
We've always, within the band, said there is a fifth member, a mystical member, yeah. We've always said there's something looking over us.
And the only way that I can describe that, probably in its best, the best way for me is that when we were playing our first songs together, and especially our first the first 3 albums, for instance, we would literally show up in a room, and it was almost as if the songs were already written.
Dickinson of Iron Maiden, one of heavy metal's most popular bands, admitted, quote, "We've referred to things in our music like the tarot and ideas of people like Aleister Crowley. Iron Maiden sings about such Crowleyan themes as human sacrifice." Crowley taught, but the bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficacious, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is best. Led Zeppelin's leader, Jimmy Page, is also a fanatic follower of Aleister Crowley and his teachings. Page, who boasted hundreds of millions of fans, slipped in Crowley's satanic message, "Do What Thou Wilt," on their 3rd album on the run-out Matrix. Jim Morrison, frontman of the biggest American rock band of the 1960s, is yet another Satanist who was influenced by the teachings of Aleister Crowley. Here we see Jim Morrison on the front cover of the Doors album 13 over a bust of Aleister Crowley. Morrison echoed Crowley's teaching of "Do What Thou Wilt," declaring, quote, "There are no rules." Morrison stated, "I'm interested in anything about revolt, disorder, chaos, especially activity that has no meaning." Ray Manzarek, the Doors keyboard player, points out that Jim Morrison was a shaman.
Jim's contribution to music was that Jim was real. Jim was real on stage. Jim was real when he wrote his songs, when he sang his songs in the studio. He was not a performer. He was not an entertainer. He was not a showman. He was a shaman. He was possessed, man. He was possessed, man. Possessed.
I let my cheeks lie down.
AC/DC guitarist Angus Young is also admitted to being possessed. He points out that the spirit manifests while he's performing on stage. He says, quote, "By the time we're halfway through the first number, someone else is steering me. I'm just along for the ride. I become possessed when I get on stage." The rock band Queen sings about Beelzebub, a biblical name for Satan, setting a demon aside for them. Bon Jovi has admitted, "I'd kill my mother for rock and roll. I would sell my soul." In fact, Bon Jovi states, quote, "When I was a boy, the devil took me by the hand, took me from my home. I'm going down, down, down." Anton LaVey admitted that, quote, "We, speaking of the Church of Satan, have had contact with a lot of people over the years." He went on to say that, quote, "David Lee Roth, who was formerly of Van Halen, recorded an album named Yankee Rose, which was the last word in the Satanic Bible." Heavy metal's most popular group, Metallica, and a copy of Motorhead's Prince make it clear as just to whom they have given their souls. Cobain, who was the front man of Nirvana before committing suicide, was Rolling Stone's Artist of the Decade in the 1990s. Kurt Cobain desecrated churches by scrawling graffiti like "God is gay" on the walls. Just before Cobain made it big, he admitted his aspirations in declaring, quote, "I will get stoned and worship Satan."
The one eye is the sun god, Ray. You see where we get the word ray, sun rays. It is the sun god, same Mithraic character, and he shows up again and again. This is the Masonic god.
Jewish services. Straighten us out. Well, I know the Torah, but I'm not Jewish, and nor have I converted to Judaism. I think I'm connecting to something that predates religion.
Hollywood itself is a word. The word is interesting because it's a word that comes from a pagan. Hollywood is the holy wood, and it was the wood that the magical wands were made out of in the pagan sorcery, magic. And these wands were believed that the sorcerers that possessed them could put people into trances and control them. This is part of, this is symbolic, but it's also important to understand that part of what Hollywood literally does is it puts people into trances. It's a dream state. They call it the dream machine in the United States. Creates fantasies for people. It puts people into these things. Now, one of the things is interesting that in the part of what's done in movie theaters, in darkened rooms where people watch television, is literally a trance state that occurs. What's called suspended state. of disbelief. You enter into a state, you suspend your disbelief and enter into a state whereby you begin to believe what you internally realize is imagination. It's falsehood. Films are magic. It's just magic. You go and you watch these things and people get caught up in them. People cry during films. All this catharsis that takes place in these things. Many of the films, and this is an important element in the control mechanism, is literally allow people to go and have certain type of catharsis as a purging experience, which Aristotle talks about the necessary element. One of the necessary elements of tragedy is to create this cathartic experience. And this is why a lot of the films, especially also news and things like this is why news is very important in this culture. Everybody watches the news, they have this tragic, cathartic experience of watching the tragedies of others and then feeling safe and complacent in their own experience of this suspended state of illusory well-being. So these are very intricate and sophisticated methods. Now, I think it's dangerous, although there are elements, there's concerted efforts that take place, there's also a lot of people that have similar worldviews that aren't necessarily working together in concerted efforts.